Our next guest is coming along, in just a little under, probably about 10 minutes. But before that, I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about question being raised, possibility of Ahmed, the timekeeping terrorist. That's on the way in just a moment. 47 and 8:33, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Also wanted to mention, since we're now getting into the heart of hunting seasons, our friends at High Desert Meat Processing, where they're processing one animal at a time. What you bring in is what you get back. Darren Van Horn, owner of High Desert Meat Processing in Twin Falls, Idaho, he has over 30 years' experience in the meat business. You can visit High Desert Meat Processing on Facebook. They have reviews from customers there. Give High Desert Meat Processing a telephone call for all of your wild game, plus your domestic needs. Telephone number 734-9949. High Desert Meat does in-house smoking. Nothing gets shipped out. And they do specialty meats as well. Polish dogs, hot dogs, kielbasa, summer sausage, pepperoni, jerky. USDA approved. Darren works closely with local beef growers and their programs to ensure quality meat. 734-9949. One of the latest celebrities for the American left is this little boy from Texas who was arrested after he brought a clock that he made at home. He's a very ingenious little boy, I think. 14 years old. He brought it to school, and his teacher was alarmed, no pun intended, and decided to get the police officers, the resource officers at the school involved, and the young man got handcuffed and dragged away. He's not happy about it.
They took me to a room filled with 4 other officers, so 5 officers total and 1 principal, and me by myself. Tried to call my parents, but they were like, no, you're in the middle of an interrogation right now, and you can't call them.
So he was told basically, shut up, sit down, and answer our questions. Here's where I think this thing went haywire. And no pun intended on the wires as well that were connected to his clock. The alarm went off when he was in class, so he decided to show it to his English teacher. He was actually bringing it to the engineering class later in the day, and he wanted to show it off to his classmates as well as to his engineering teacher. She took a look at it and thought it might look like a bomb. Well, okay, let's take a moment and stand back in this. If she just said, all right, go ahead, and he went down the hall and he blew up the gymnasium, then people would be asking, why didn't she call attention to this? So from the teacher's perspective, and you know what? If his name had been not Muhammad, but Jones or Smith or Watson, I think she would have done exactly the same thing. So to claim that he was being targeted because, his name is Muhammad and they're from Texas and they're white people and they're mean-spirited. Give me a break. This goes on to say, in fact, I've got a piece here from Kevin Williamson, who's a great writer for the National Review. The story immediately became ubiquitous, not because of what actually happened, but because it can be used to further a story that media already want to tell, that the U.S. is morally corrupt and irredeemably racist. He says, on the other hand, if you're a kid who goes into school wearing an NRA T-shirt in West Virginia and you get arrested, media doesn't really care about that. I'll get to my telephone caller in just a moment. I've got a couple of folks trying to reach us on the program. But he says, what if this kid had showed up with his clock at the White House for the White House tour? I showed up at the Capitol building one time. I rode a bicycle from southern Delaware to Washington, D.C. to deliver some petitions at the Capitol building. And the radio station decided to put a tracking device on the back of my bicycle so people could tune in online and see where I happened to be pedaling for the course of the couple of days that I was doing this. And when I got to the front gate and they're looking at this homemade device hanging on the back of my bicycle, I got the attention of a lot of people there, and I'm a middle-aged white guy on a bicycle, for crying out loud. I had a backpack, too. So you understand how that the suspicions can be raised by all of this. Now, the police may have said to him, all right, we'll check it out and see if it's a clock. Instead of just saying, confess, dang it, confess. What's he going to do, confess to building a clock? That's where it kind of went haywire. But I absolutely agree with what the teacher did in this situation. You're up next. You're on the air with Bill Colley on News Radio 1310 KLIX. What's on your mind?
When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, the next day we rounded up the Japanese people. Now we invite them to the White House.
Well, and that was Franklin.
Think about it. We invite them to the White House. That's how down we come. The troops.
Well,
we are a lot different than what we were back then. A lot different. And I'm afraid to say that America is ceasing to be America every day. Every day. We're becoming more and more like the Muslims. It's just a matter of time before we're going to turn against Israel like the rest of the world. And when we do, and when we're done with that, then we're going to be in a mighty, mighty situation. Their religion is one of death. Our religion is one of life. And that's entirely different from the Muslims. They have no reason to be here because their religion is different from our religion. Their religion is one of death and ours is of life. Now, do your homework. Go out there and think about it.
Hey, thank you much.
The president is a Muslim.
Thank you much for the telephone call, sir. I've got to get to another caller, but I want to say something about that first caller's point. Because it's not just a religious faith, Islam is also a law. It's a way of living. It's a political force. It may not be compatible with the Western world, and yet you've got people out there who think we're going to shoehorn it in. What happens when they start, throwing homosexuals off of tall buildings in this country or denying people wedding cakes? What's the American left going to do? Well, they're afraid of them. They're not going to do anything. You're up next. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Bill. Thanks for taking my call. This particular story absolutely infuriates me. They had first-grade kids thrown out of school, sent home to their parents because they had a damn plastic knife to put peanut butter on their crackers with, and they threw them little kids out of school. This kid brings something that might be a bomb. We don't know if it is or not. And they now they're going to take him to the White House. Well, here's my question. How the hell do these people don't know that maybe this kid brought that and another kid's going to do it to get people used to seeing this kind of stuff? And then guess what's going to happen?
Bring him to the White House, too. That's another insult against police.
Exactly. Are you willing to take that chance? The American people got to wake up. You're throwing little first graders out of school for having a plastic knife. This kid brings something might be a bomb, and then now they're saying the teacher was wrong? The teacher did exactly what the teacher should have done. Obama does exactly what he always does. He screws it up.
Hey, thank you. Well said there at the very end. He screws it up. Seems to be his nature in life. The other caller, too, mentioning the abandonment of Israel, it's already well underway. We have a guest coming up from the Boy Scouts of America. Hope you can stick around. It's 8:47.